Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Yesterday we were talking about Esther and Ezra, and their stories took us to the time of Israel being in exile in Babylon and into the royal court itself. So while we are in that mindset, let's continue today talking about the same time period and go into the royal court a different way. This week, as Lent begins today, we are focusing on fasting and looking at some examples of fasting in the Bible. Today we are going to look at King Darius and Daniel. Again, this is a somewhat confusing time in the history of Israel, so let me give you a quick and easy summary. You likely know that the nation of Babylon conquered Israel and took the bulk of people and society into exile in Babylon. You may also know that they were there for 70 years before they were sent back. What you might not be as familiar with is that over those 70 years, the Babylonian Empire was itself conquered by the Persian Empire, so that by the end of their time in exile, it wasn't the Babylonians in charge, but the Persians. Another thing you might not have thought about was that over those 70 years, some Israelites actually rose to positions of leadership and responsibility. One of those was Daniel. Daniel became a friend and an advisor to King Darius, but he maintained his distinctive faith in God. Every day, Daniel would go to his home 3 times and pray in a place where he could be seen through the window. Well, you know how palace intrigue is. Daniel had some enemies who were jealous of his influence with the king, and so these enemies suggested to King Darius that he put an irrevocable law in place that said that no one could pray to any other god except for King Darius for a period of 90 days. This greatly pleased King Darius, so he signed the law. If you broke the law, the punishment was that you would be cast into a den of hungry lions. Sure enough, Daniel was quickly caught, and even though he was a friend of King Darius was helpless to change the law that he had signed and made irrevocable. He told Daniel that he hoped Daniel's God was powerful enough to save him from the lions, and then with no choice, he had Daniel cast into the lion's den. Then King Darius did an interesting thing. He fasted. The Bible does not say what this fast included, but it seems to indicate that it was more than just food. We are told that the king did not allow music to be played that night. He also did not sleep. The king forfeited more than food for his fast. I'm sure you know that in the morning King Darius found that Daniel was just fine and brought him out of the lion's den. And just in case you thought the lions weren't hungry, then he cast those other advisors who had entrapped Daniel, and they were devoured right away. Darius fasted in sorrow and regret, and in the hope that Daniel's God would save him. There's another time in the book of Daniel when a fast occurs, and this time it was Daniel himself who fasted. As we get into this fast, I need to let you know that the book of Daniel is apocalyptic literature, filling the same role in the Old Testament that Revelation takes in the New Testament. This is literature that by and large speaks about end times. So it is that in Daniel chapter 10, we have Daniel receiving a vision of the end of time. What is interesting as well is Daniel's preparation for the vision. He fasted and prayed. Here are the first few verses of Daniel 10 where this fast is described. At that time, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 weeks. I had eaten no rich food, no meat or wine had entered my mouth, and I had not anointed myself at all for the full 3 weeks. On the 24th day of the first month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, that is the Tigris, I looked up and saw a man clothed in linen with a belt of gold. Daniel fasted in order to receive a vision from God. Actually, this kind of fast has become known as a Daniel fast. It is a type of fasting that is characterized by only eating fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. The only drink approved for the fast is water. There are variations in what foods are considered appropriate on this fast, but those are the generally accepted guidelines. So, as we see with Darius, a fast may include more than abstaining from food, and with Daniel, particularly with longer fasts, it may mean not eating certain kinds of foods. In some ways, Lent might be that kind of fast, as we give up something for Lent. Both of the fasts here would be considered spiritual disciplines, a fast undertaking to demonstrate faith, repentance, and openness to God. As Lent begins today, may our Lenten fast be the same. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.